Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening, or good morning, or afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this. My name is Charles. Some of you may know me as Chaz, or Yazek, or the DM, or the Bard, and I am the host of this, our 63rd of hopefully many episodes of Bard Advice, a D&D slash TTRPG slash nerd-centric podcast where I do my best to answer any questions that you may have. As a reminder, at the top of the show, we like to remind everyone of the email of the show, which is bardadvice@gmail.com. Please send all of your questions, concerns, critiques, criticisms, queries, stories, follow-ups. Please send all of those to bardadvice@gmail.com. Oh, and if you have anything for Art Corner, send it over there too, because we've got some features on that this evening as well. If you want to get some merch, you can do so over at manshorts.com, or more importantly, you can go over to kraken.com and get some, krakendice.com and get some dice. We've got the Manshorts Part 2 dice that are already currently available, and then as of Thursday of next week, the Sarah dice will be available. So, got to get those. Also, if you'd like to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazek, Yahzick. Also, at the top of the show, we like to thank all of our members, patrons, super chatters, remind everybody to please like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, and rate the podcast on your respective platforms. Hope everybody's doing well. It's great to see all of the familiar faces, all of the regulars. Hope you're having a great Friday. Hope you had a great week. We've got some questions to get to this evening, as well as a little bit of Art Corner. The Part 2 dice are fantastic. Got mine last week, and they look great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I'm really satisfied with the product. We worked with Kraken. We've worked with them before, and we got to work with them this time on designing the stuff. And, they always are really good about, I think, throwing a little extra. Yeah, hopefully people are enjoying their dice. And on that note, by the way, if you have any issues at all, reach out. Probably better to reach out to Kraken directly. They're usually very good about working with people if there's any problems. If there's any issues with that, feel free to reach out to me directly. But, yeah, so we are definitely... Oh, hey, there's Justin. Hey, how's it going, pal? So, yeah, we're going to talk about that. So let's get into Art Corner. Hope everybody's had a great week. We're going to get into it. We've got questions. But first, before we do any of that, I would like to start Art Corner with a bit of a heartfelt message, a bit of a sad message for anybody who doesn't know. But Akira Toriyama has passed away, unfortunately, at the age of 68, which is a little too young. And, I don't know if it would have ever been a right age for Toriyama. If anybody doesn't know who he is a world-renowned Japanese mangaka, which is the Japanese word for cartoonist. He is the creator of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, which if you are above the age of, 25, you probably grew up watching it. I certainly did. It was a big part of my childhood. In fact, Dragon Ball Z was pretty much the reason that I wanted to do martial arts. So when I was a kid, I took American Taekwondo. And it was pretty much because I wanted to be Goku. Well, I mean, really, I wanted to be like Vegeta or Piccolo. But you know what I mean? So I wrote up a little thing. Toriyama's work inspired millions, and he's considered one of the most influential artists of all time, certainly for his genre. He's inspired several other mangaka to create titles like One Piece, Naruto, Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, dozens, if not hundreds more. The list goes on. Even if you're not a Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z fan, you can certainly appreciate him as like kind of a titan of his industry and of his art form. So he'll certainly be missed. It's a real shame. And so I just wanted to give him a little bit of props and, rest in peace, Toriyama, because that sucks. It's never good to lose such a talented artist. But on a more positive note of the Art Corner, I've got some other cool submissions that we received. One of them is from Chris. And if you'll remember last week, if you were here, we were discussing the idea of a kobold carrot top. And so it looks like Chris promptly went over and built one out as to what that would look like, and I couldn't have done it better myself. In fact, I looked into it before I saw that, and this is very similar, if not much better than what I was planning on doing with it anyway. So this is pretty fantastic. It's a pretty good cobalt carrot top, in my opinion. Also, this person that sent this in did not leave a name, so we'll just go with anonymous, but I think that this is really cool. Obviously, just the concept of like an orc slash is cool already, and I think that the paintwork is good. So wanted to share this with everybody and just think that's a cool thing for minis. So thank you all for the submissions. If you want to submit your stuff to Art Corner, send something to bardadvice@gmail.com. It's usually pretty cool. I'm usually pretty good about pointing people in the direction of something if you want any kind of promotion or just showing it off because it's cool. So feel free to send that stuff over at bardadvice@gmail.com. Okay, so Hulk slash. So let's get into it. We have questions. I've got 7 this evening, so we're going to try and get through all of them. And then if we have time, we'll do a little chat. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So the first question, since I hurriedly made my list of names like right before we started, is from Stacy. And Stacy asks, Dear Bard, my grown children and I are looking for a good VTT platform to play D&D from all different states. Can you offer any suggestions? Thank you. Thank you for the question. We will talk about some VTTs. Obviously, sound off in chat about what your opinions are on it. I'm going to kind of go through a list of different options and what are kind of the pros and cons of them. The first thing I see in the chat is not Roll20, but Roll20 is the first one I'm going to bring up just because it's, for me, it's the one that I'm most familiar with, have the most experience with. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's the best one, but I wanted to bring it up because it's free, it's relatively accessible because it's online, so you don't have to worry about software and stuff. It makes it easier for like distance playing. It does have a lot of features, but it has a lot of features in the same way that like a Microsoft OS does, where it's like, it's a bit of a steep learning curve. Like you have to know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, it's really great, but it can be tough to learn. Again, no downloads. It's all hosted by Roll20 Online. They offer, you know, cool stuff, dynamic lighting, doors, like Fog of War stuff. So I think that Roll20 is an option, albeit not my first recommendation. Well, clearly it is, but I think that, you know, it's going to depend on what works best for you and yours ultimately. So there's a couple of other ones. Foundry, I see in the chat, and I've also got on my list. It's a pricey start for the DM. I see here that it's a one-time fee of $50, but on that, it gives you a lifetime license. So it looks like they offer tons of state-of-the-art features. They let you pre-install different systems, so all of your stuff and sheets are like preset and ready to use. River says Tailspire, which I do not have on my list, but maybe worth checking out. I think what you might do is a little research and just kind of see the pros and cons of each. I'm trying to go through those because, like, I think with Foundry, you know, obviously the con is that it's maybe a little expensive, but the benefit of that is that once you pay that money, you're in for life with them as a license. And then, you know, the pre-install stuff is pretty cool because on that note, you can do that kind of stuff with Roll20, but again, it's not very intuitive. You really have to know what you're doing. Like, so when we played on Roll20 with Ethan as our DM, Ethan's a smart guy and he's DM'd for a long time, and he was not necessarily constantly, but frequently he would be butting heads with Roll20 as to like, I don't understand how this works. And like, it's just, in my experience, granted that was a few years ago, Roll20 is not as intuitive. Foundry might be, because I do see that a lot of people like that one. There's also Fantasy Grounds. That one has the most support from Wizards. So if you already have like D&D materials, you can integrate them into the game. It also uses a D&D rule set automation, so it automatically adds modifiers, applies condition effects, applies damage. Con is, though, that it's not free, and honestly, I don't know what it costs, but from what I've read, it's arguably expensive, so that might not be the one, but, you know, again, I think that there's good things and bad things about all of them. And then the last one that I have to just go through is the Owlbear Radio, which is it's a free lightweight option. Evidently, it doesn't allow for character sheets, but you know, you can always manage that in another window. It's all online. It's a functional canvas. So from what I understand, you could just kind of plug stuff in, and you can password protect your games and share them with only your players. So I think that ultimately it's going to be what works best for you and your group. Obviously, $50 is like nothing to sneeze at, especially in today's day and time. So, you know, and or maybe not, you know, like I said, it depends on what works for you. Maybe everybody's just like, oh, $50, cool, yeah, let's do it. Let's do Foundry. But you might find another option in any of the others I mentioned. Tailspire Cons Cost and Learning Curve. Pro, completely able to build your map and add minis. That's cool. Tailspire is on Steam. That's true. That's another thing. If you already have Steam, or you or any of your children play on Steam and you already have it, there's a benefit to that. Is Tailspire the only one that's on Steam? Are there other ones on Steam? Hey, Daryl, if you're here, you're on time. You just use Discord video calls to show any player who's remoting in the map. I like tabletop sim for a lot of things. Haven't run a campaign in it, but I want to because the potential is high. Definitely a good pick if you're tech savvy, or if one of the PCs is. I do have Beyond. Can't do much because I can't buy any of it. Can't, wouldn't, won't, wouldn't, whatever. Yeah, I hear that. It's Owlbear Rodeo, not Radio. Oh, wow. Okay, well, thank you, actually, for that correction. It is Rodeo. I don't know why I said radio. Maybe because I'm doing a podcast. Welcome back to Owlbear Radio. That'd be cool. It's Owlbear Rodeo. So, on that. Maybe that'll end up being the name of the episode. Pretty sure there are others on Steam. Just know of Tailspire because I have a copy of it. Yeah, probably. I should have. Or maybe I didn't even. And it's doing that thing where it's telling me that it's not there, but it really is there. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. I think I'm still here. Okay. So, are we still going? Are we still here? All right, I don't know what happened, gang. Sorry about that. A little bit of a weird thing, but thankfully, stream started buffering endlessly. Yeah, sorry. Don't know what happened there. All right, let's keep moving. Thank you for the question, Stacy. The next question we have is from Scapelli. Scapelli asks, I was watching a module review of a Call of Cthulhu game, and it occurred to me that Florida Edition may have Mythos crossover potential. Cosmic horrors driving people crazy would explain a lot about Florida Edition, and the Clintons actually being lizard people in the game would certainly be a selling point for some players. Have you considered using some kind of sanity trait for Florida Edition? I was also wondering if the PCs were designed to be Florida, Fold, or... I think I might have written this wrong. Designed to be Florida Fold, or people trying to survive in Florida, or both. Maybe one would have to be an expansion of the other. Regards. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, I gotcha. So that's a great question. So I am in the current early stage. It is supposed to be folk. Yes, thank you, Bean. That makes sense. Are they Florida folk, or are they people trying to survive in Florida? I think that I would like to build it in such a way. Okay, so we're kind of going to shift around here. The sanity trait, I think, is cool. We are doing, spoiler alert, but also like kind of a cool Easter egg that you get as somebody who watches the podcast. We're having a Florida edition on Sunday. So that'll be Florida 18. I did not include it in that episode, although I may include it in future episodes because it is a great idea. And more importantly than including it in future episodes, I'm not sure if you know, I have talked about it on the pod before, that I'm in the very early stages of developing a 5e supplement called the Florida Manthology that will include, you know, some little one-shot type campaigns, as well as like some new classes and spells and feats and NPCs, monsters and stuff. And so I think adding a sanity trait to that game would be super cool because, let me see, what did I say about it? I put notes on it. I like the idea of having sanity. I'm still including sanity as part of the character classes or spells and abilities could make it super fun. Honestly, I've only really played Cthulhu a few times, but the sanity trait is really cool to me, because it's almost like, I don't know, it's like a death save. It's just something that you have to deal with and be kind of present of at all times. And the it's potential more than even like potentially more damaging than taking damage, right? Because it's like when you're in a D&D game and you're just like walking around in RP, you're not really thinking about taking damage. You're not like thinking about it. But if you have sanity and the things around you are directly affecting that sanity, that's something that you kind of keep track of, which would be really cool. I wonder, will there be a buff for being drunk? It's funny you say that, because I was just going to say, I think what could be cool is if perhaps you, and I don't know, maybe this wouldn't be a good thing to promote, but just the idea of it seems very Florida. Like maybe the more you drink, maybe it does a thing where kind of like how caffeine works with the brain, where it's like it doesn't necessarily protect you from losing sanity so much as it just kind of like stops. I don't know. It acts as some sort of a buffer where it's like if you're a certain amount of drunk, you can't lose any more sanity until you start to sober up. But then maybe it all drops out. So it's like, yeah, you can stay wasted without losing sanity, but as soon as you sober up, then all your sanity is going to drop out. Temporary sanity loss for drinking. Florida edition was always one of my faves, an endless supply of situations to use. Yeah, and it doesn't disappoint. I tell you, when I went to write this episode for this week, it did not take me long to gather stories, because they're out there. My current players are level 6 and they are strong. Meanwhile, they're afraid to walk down an empty corridor due to my DM style. Yeah, and you could do all that anyway. No one answered me on being the new king of Florida. I pulled Excaligator from the gator's head. Whoa, what? Hold on, when did I miss that? COC is a different animal. You will never be the hero, only the survivor for a while. Differs from D&D a lot. True. And I think that we can kind of, with the Florida Manthology, combine those things. And on that, I think that answers the question as to whether they're Florida folk or people trying to survive in Florida. I think that they would be, well, that's the tricky thing, right? Because the character classes are going to be based on Lance, Waylon, and Sarah. And we all live in Florida. So, but I mean, I think you would still have like a sanity, right? Like just because you live here doesn't mean you ever really get like used to it. Although I guess lots of stuff happens where like it's, you know, sometimes I see stuff on TikTok of something that happens and it's like a real freak out, and it's in a place like New York or like, I don't know, the middle of the country or something. And it's like, they're like, people are like, whoa. And I don't know, maybe it's just, it could be my county, but it's just like, I have become kind of desensitized to stuff, like seeing weird stuff. It's just like, it's pretty much how it goes. You get a +1 to all skills for every cop chasing you, for every wanted level you have. Florida man equals pandemonium. Yeah, for sure. Call of Cthulhu is a giant one-shot horror where everybody dies. Everybody dies. Everybody. Yeah. And Florida might end up being similar to that, just kind of in that vein. Wild Surge, your mullet becomes usable as a prehensile tail and is a +1 magic weapon. Yo, I like that, man. I'm gonna use. Are you in the Discord, Kaiser Soze? Get in the Discord with that kind of. We need that kind of stuff. Drop a link for the Discord, somebody. Advantage versus sanity checks. Disadvantage on skills. Could be. I mean, you could do it as kind of a scale, where depending on the level of sanity you're at, depends on the kind of things you could do. Once you see a person eat the face of another person with bath salts. Yeah, and that's like not even that crazy. And yes, and Chris just dropped another Discord link, so hop in there if you're not already in there. All right, well, I think there's an answer there for you, Scapelli. It's a great idea. I would like to maybe try and implement it into either Florida edition and or Conspiracy edition, and certainly into the Florida Manthology. We're going to see how that works out. All right, so thank you for the question, Scapelli. The next question is, this is a question about anime, which is cool because we were talking about DBZ and stuff earlier. This question is from Dante, and Dante asks, Hey Chaz, a few weeks ago, McDonald's launched a new anime-themed marketing campaign. Between that and all the One Piece stuff that happened in 2023, I have a question. In your opinion, how has the rise of the internet and streaming platforms affected the anime industry, both in terms of distribution and content creation? Thank you, and keep up all the great content. Wow, thank you, Dante, for the question. It's a great question, by the way. Well thought out, and something I've not really considered. So, we were talking about Toriyama and DBZ earlier. When I was a kid, it vastly helped spread it. River said, "Yeah," and that's exactly the point I want to get into. When I was a kid, the extent of anime as I knew it at the time. Let's see, I was born in '87, so when I was 10 or 11, didn't can somebody look up when did DBZ started airing? When did DBZ start airing in the United States? It's like 98 or 99. Anyway, it was the first like experience that I'd had with anime, and even then it wasn't like a full experience, right? Because it was dubbed. But yeah, I know that it was the 90s. I'm just curious as to the exact year. Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z? I prefer, I don't know, that's tough. Dragon Ball is really, really good. 96. Okay, cool. So thank you. So I would have been 9. And I really didn't start watching it until I was like, I think 11 or 12. So it was probably like 98, 99. And that was when I started doing like taekwondo and stuff. And like, I remember like standing in my room before and or after taekwondo and watching it and just being like, kind of taken aback by like, what was this? And then of course Pokemon I think was another huge one that at the same time it was like, whoa, what is this? Because granted it is animation, but the anime style is a lot different than like Western cartoons. So it was a really interesting thing. I think that the internet and streaming, especially lately, has to River's point, it's vastly helped spread anime to people who have never even seen it before. And, you know, they did all that stuff with One Piece last year. Like, they did, Luffy had a parade float, right? And then the LA Rams did that thing, and now McDonald's. I don't know how much more ingrained in American society it can really get at this point. I mean, like, what else is there once you're at McDonald's? A stamp? You would be on a stamp? Oh, yo, maybe we get Toriyama on a stamp. That would be gas. We should do that. But yeah, I think it's a question of whether or not it gets oversaturated and turns into something like Marvel, where there's just like so much of it that people get sick of it. But I think that because I'm an anime fan and have been for most of my life, it probably feels more popular than it actually is. Because I imagine that a lot of people, and I didn't even put the thing up. This is the McDonald's campaign. I think that a lot of people, and even my wife was like, "What is this?" Like, I feel like a lot of people who aren't really in that orbit are probably more just like, what's going on? As opposed to it just being a thing where it like takes over and it's a thing that everybody knows, like Transformers or something. So the short answer is that the internet and streaming has vastly popularized anime far beyond where a point where it ever was, and it still feels like kind of a niche thing. Still, if you encounter somebody that's like not in that realm at all, they're like, you might as well be speaking another language. But it's just like me speaking to nerds who aren't sports fans. It's just like they just kind of glaze over, just like, what are you talking about? But I think it's a good thing overall, the streaming and the internet. And I certainly have been exposed to a lot of things that I wouldn't have been exposed to, just because of something as simple as Crunchyroll is just like, whoa, look at all this stuff that I could watch that I would have never seen otherwise. And it gives people the opportunity, I think, to watch those and if they couldn't enjoy them if they never saw them. So now that they can see them, maybe they enjoy it. Toonami on Cartoon Network, yes. Adult Swim. Akira Toriyama created Dragon Quest. Oh. Didn't watch Pokemon until my son started watching it when he was little. Watched Garfield and Heathcliff. Oh, I remember Heathcliff. Heathcliff, no terror. The next stage, AI personalized anime. Ooh, I'm down for that. I think that's fun. As someone who's never played D&D, I'm learning a lot by being here. Yeah. I think just being around it and whatever it is, just having it available is a good thing. Because, like, more people, dude, I went and saw a couple years ago, I guess, when the Mugen Train came out, the movie. My buddy Justin and I went and saw that in theaters, and that was so cool to see just like all of the people there that were like so hyped for it. And obviously, you get that at stuff like conventions, but for it to just happen in like just at the movie house, that was a really cool thing. Because it's like, well, that would have never happened when I was a kid. Like, people didn't even know what Dragon Ball Z was when I was a kid. Went into the McDonald's and the self-serve station for ordering, had the main. I'm actually surprised that McDonald's hasn't done this before, because it seems like super easy, especially with the whole, like, we're going to make Happy Meals for adults thing, because, like, our generation is all adults now. But it seems like a real easy, like, I don't understand. Like, if I was McDonald's, I'd be like, all right, look, we're going to partner with, like, Funimation and Funko Pops. And we're just gonna, and that's what we're gonna release in our Happy Meals, is just like straight up One Piece toys. I mean, I don't, the amount of people that would go there just for that. Top Hat or Eek the Cat. Oh, now we're getting deep into it. Garfield, like Garfield and Friends. Garfield and Friends. Is it all that My Hero font like Adam Savage did? What? Went to McDonald's the other day and the ice cream machine actually worked. No way. Now that's proof we're in a simulation. A few years back, they had a Happy Meal that included a lotto ticket. Whoa, they'll do anything to sell chicken nuggets, I guess. With the original Pokemon movie. Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. I'd forgotten about that. Pokemon was like, whoa, what a phenomenon that was. Because that came out in 96, the game on the Game Boy, and I think I had blue. I had blue version, and I think my cousin had red. But oh man, what an incredible thing. That changed everything for me, with just like, man. And the cards too, dude. Like, I remember like going into card shops and like seeing the holographic Charizard for like $80 or something. Boy Meets World and Home Improvement, no doubt. Boy Meets World more so. Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Ghost in the Shell, Big O, Gundam Wing, Robotech. Outlaw Star was another one that I watched when I was younger. That was a good one. Lotto ticket Happy Meal sounds so dystopian. I don't know, dude. I think I'd be happy to get a lotto ticket in the Happy Meal. Although I imagine that if it were a big enough prize and you won, it's not going to be a breeze just cashing that in. Mother threw away your entire Pokemon collection. Oh, no. Trigun. You know what's another big one that I never got into was, Gundam. You mentioned it. I never got that big into Gundam. Samurai Pizza Cats. I don't know about all that. Wait a minute. That does sound familiar, though. Well, I'm getting off topic. I think the internet and streaming has been great for anime. It's given more people access to it, and I think just in general, people are starting to come around for anime. I know that there's a Cowboy Bebop. Oh yeah. Monopoly pieces. Oh, that's what he's talking. Dude, we played the Monopoly game, dude. Yu-Gi-Oh! I never really got into. Although I did have a bunch of Pogs when I was a kid. All the seasons, including the ones they never released. My husband lives or dies by Gundam. Builds them all the time and paints them. I understand it, that. I think that, I think if you do like actual minis and stuff, I get it. But for me personally, I don't know. I never like got into the mechs, which is weird because I have like a really cool idea for an anime that involves mechs. But I think it's good for people to be exposed to it. Yeah, for sure. Like, because I think also, and I made a note here, like, I love anime. One of the reasons I love anime is that I think that Asian storytelling in general is just so good. And I've said before, like, I do believe that I think it's because they're an older culture than us in the West, that they just have been telling stories for longer, so they're just better at it. And the villain arcs, like the villain stories and the villains period in anime are so good. They're, I mean, not across the board, obviously. Like it's, there's good and bad stuff, just like with anything. But in general, in my experience with anime villains, they're so good because you get an understanding for how they got there. I feel like Western stories, it's like, or like specifically American stories, it's very much like established, like this is the good guy and this is the bad guy. And the bad guy is an irredeemable bad guy and the good guy's got to beat him. And it's like, cool, I get that. I can rock with that, like Lone Ranger type stuff. But then also, why is the bad guy a bad guy? Is the bad guy irredeemable? How do we know? How did he get there? Oh, it turns out there's way more of a story behind it. And it doesn't necessarily excuse their behavior, but you understand it better. Blue-Eyed Samurai, yeah, that's a really good one. My wife's a big fan of that one. Their stories are older in general. You realize how many isekais there are? That's true. There are a bunch. But I think that in general, my experience with anime villains, I like a lot more. Because there's just more depth to the story, All right, we got to keep moving. We've got more questions. Thank you for the question, Dante. I hope that gives you an answer. The next question is from Chris. As we might come to expect on this show, Chris asks, "Hey Charles, I hope all is well with you and yours. One of my campaigns ended prematurely because one PC got annoyed with the party pet and killed it. Yikes. This resulted in a 3v3 PvP battle ending in only 2 characters surviving. When trying to retcon the situation, one player adamantly refused to continue stating... one player adamantly refused to continue, stating they accepted that the pet had died, but didn't really want to keep going with that storyline. The 2 players are friends IRL, and this didn't affect their relationship out of game. They also had no issue starting a new game together. What is it about these Boblin the Goblins that can make 2 close friends ready to fight to the death?" Thanks for the question, Chris. That's an insane story. So Boblin the Goblin, for anybody that doesn't know, at least my understanding of Boblin the Goblin has been just kind of like, it's kind of a placeholder for an NPC that a DM kind of has to make up on the fly because the players aren't really doing what they're kind of supposed to be doing. Like a lot of times the DM will lay out something, and you can call it railroading if you want, but it's just how the game works. You lay out the scene for the players, and then you lay like an obvious breadcrumb, like there's a shadowy figure in the corner waves you over or something. And it's a scenario where the player's like, I don't care about that. I'm going to talk to this person. And then it's like, well, you as the DM have no plan for them. So it's a goblin named Boblin. Just deal with it. So on the note of that, I think that in my experience, sometimes it's not even about Boblin the Goblin. Most of the time it isn't. So perhaps the players see this as an opportunity to expand their own character's role play or add depth to their backstory, because I know that I tend to do that kind of stuff when I'm playing. Like I'll grab onto stuff that I see as it's just kind of like, oh, this could make my character interesting. So sometimes it's that, but more than likely it's just a thing where it's like, I don't want the pet because you want it, or I want the pet because you don't. It's just like the nature of, in particular, if they're friends, even more so if they're friends, because then it becomes a thing of just like annoying people. I've had certainly experiences like that in games where like a buddy and I, we're making decisions just based on the fact that we know that it annoys the other. So sometimes that can end up being toxic, but if it's, if they're friends and they're able to just kind of get over it and move on, that's cool. It's a shame that it kind of ruined the campaign, but I've had campaigns end weirder than that. So Mustang is in search of the lost legendary peppercorn loot named Jenny before the family finds out he lost it. Oh no. Had to F5 again. Yeah, it's probably a YouTube thing. Sorry about that. I hope we're still rolling. Everything on my end seems to still be, but sorry for any jitters on the other side. Update: 97 adult Happy Meal was a McArch Deluxe sandwich medium fries, medium drink, a coffee crisp, and a coupon for a free $1 lotto ticket. Dang, that is crazy. Sheesh. Humans are pack animals. We latch on to animals, inanimate objects, damaged things, anything. They become ours to care for and protect. No doubt. And the antithesis of that, right, on the other side of that is you have these characters that are just like murder hobos that are destructive. So if I'm murder hoboing and I'm just like playing for the meme and doing stuff, and I see how much you care about an NPC, I'm not saying that I would do this. I mean, I probably would. I may. But it's just, you know, once somebody knows something is valuable to you, they could ultimately use that against you, even if it's just like for the meme. DM missed the opportunity to do a one-shot Pet Cemetery. True. 8675309 engraved on the fretboard. Ah, yes, the Jenny, the Jenny loot. I like it. That's great. As a DM, it amazes me which NPC will become beloved. Always left field stuff, but usually fun. Yeah, no doubt. Like, it's always somebody that you least expect that, you know, and that's why, you know, it's good, I think, to call them the Boblin the Goblins, because that's what it is. It's like, those are the ones that people love and, like, will literally fight and die for. I think you really just have to keep it cool in those situations and do damage control. Yeah, for sure. But, you know, sometimes it's just people just memeing and wanting to do it. And maybe it was just an excuse to kind of end the campaign, too. That could be. But more than likely, it's just a thing where, yeah, you know, to Yokai's point, like, we latch on to stuff. It's just in our nature. And then if it seems kind of quirky or unique, then people will want to latch onto that. And then there are people who see others latching onto things who think, well, I'm going to destroy that thing. It's always the random, you barely plan. Yeah, for sure. Always, always. Where it's like, oh, cool, now I have to make a whole sheet for this person because it was like a throwaway and it became their favorite player, their favorite character. Had a 3-year-long campaign session, 2 or 3 druid made friends with a rat. Years later, Fluffy is one of 3 party members to survive, beating both Takis and Lolth. Nice. Sounds like some players didn't like their characters but didn't want to say so. Maybe. It could have been. But, yeah, it's weird how that kind of stuff, that kind of obsessive stuff, you know, but like look at the ring in The Lord of the Rings, you know? Stranger things have made people do stranger things. Write that down. All right. I think we got an answer there for you, Chris. I hope we do. Moving on, we got some more questions. I definitely want to keep a little bit of time for chat, and we've got 3 more questions. So thank you for the question, Chris. This next question is from Ken. And what do we got? Ken asks, it occurs to me that you've never answered any would you rather questions on this show. So allow me to ask the first one, and possibly more in the future. Would you rather always roll a nat 20 on your first attack but have disadvantage, or always roll a nat 1 on your first attack but have advantage on all subsequent attacks? Oh, I think I might have written this wrong. I think it's supposed to say, would you rather always roll a nat 20 on your first attack but have disadvantage on all subsequent attacks, or always roll a nat 1 on your first attack but have advantage on all subsequent attacks? I think that's correct. Thank you for the question, Ken. I think obviously nat 1, right? Because nat 1 with Lucky Feet. Okay, well, let's assume that you can't re-roll it and you have to eat the nat 1. Obviously, I think it's better to get it out of the way first, right? Because here's the deal. Sure, a guaranteed nat 20 is cool, but if you then have to subsequently roll disadvantage for the rest of the encounter, you could roll ones during that. Whereas if you get the 1 out of the way, you know you got to deal with, then you have advantage for the rest of the encounter. That seems kind of like a no-brainer, yeah? Always nat 1. Play a gnome and pick option 2. Yeah, assuming that you wouldn't be able to affect Lucky, like you just have to eat the nat 1. Especially if you know that it's going to be your first attack, because then you could even plan encounters out like that. Nat 1 and you cast Fireball, you kill the whole party. I guess that's true. That could happen. but get it out of the way when you know it's coming. I can manage to burn the nat 1 somehow. Yeah, I feel like I could figure it out way more effectively than like having to deal with disadvantage for the rest of the encounter, because it's just my luck just in general in any of the campaigns that I've played, and like certainly in Baldur's Gate 3, that I don't hit often. I don't have the best rolls. So already I don't need any reason to potentially roll ones. Can I just shoot myself in the foot and get this over with already? Yes. That's definitely that. Those are the vibes. It's just like, let's do it. I know it's coming. Let's do it first. And then as a reward, you can just have advantage for the rest of the encounter. 8 pages of well thought out adventuring for the players versus 5-second encounter with a random NPC that results in 2 hours of nothing you planned. Yeah, sounds about right. Always go last. Nat 1 initiative. In older editions, get the nat 20 for the crit chart for D percentile, 0 chance for a one-shot of God. Sounds like the Curse of Maxwell. Smart. I was this close on all checks or attacks. I rolled to attack myself, nat 1, so I hit them. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, you could do that. But that seems like another loophole, like the lucky. I think it's just a straight-up thing where you're like, look, I'm attacking, and then it's nat 1, and then what happens. It also matters what what attack you're doing, what class you are. To Pirate's point, you could destroy the whole party with a nat 1 with Fireball. Whereas if you're just shooting an arrow, you know, worst case is what? You shoot one of your party members, and then they have to take damage. Even if you, like, shot them to the point where it did crit damage, it's probably not the end of the world. And then you have advantage for the rest of the stuff, so. Sniper character always takes the 21st attack because it's the only one you need. Well, that's a good point. If you play Assassin, you want the nat 20. Yeah. See, now we're getting into the nuance of it, because it will matter, I guess, what class you are, because, yeah, if you're, yeah, dude, if you're like a monk, you might want to take that nat 20, because you might just, like, take half. It also depends on what you're fighting, too, right? Like, if you're just fighting some goblins, probably better to get the nat 1 out of the way and then just clean them up easily. It'd be kind of embarrassing. I say that it would be kind of embarrassing to lose to goblins, but that's making me think back to the we play when we fought the beavers. that was ridiculous. So that, I mean, I guess that kind of stuff happens anyway. It's just, I guess it's a matter of preference. I'd rather get the nat 1 out of the way and then just work with advantage. Roll to attack the barbarian to throw him into rage. Roll a nat 1 to stab him in the leg. 1 big bad versus 22 goblins. How long the session is. Oh, yeah, and how long the session is, yeah. Because I guess it would start with, like, whatever the encounter was. Or is it just a thing where, like, your first roll of the night? Because I think that this was... Yeah, this says... It specifies attack of combat. But it's an interesting concept to think of otherwise, too. Like, if it was a thing where you got your natural 20 on your first roll of the evening, and then you just had disadvantage for the rest of the night. Or if you rolled a nat 1 on your first roll of the evening, and then had advantage for the rest of the night. Yeah, I'm taking the nat 1. I'm a bad news first kind of guy. Monk can... in 20 quivering palm to end fight one punch style. I've seen enough Goblin Slayer to not underestimate goblins. Whoa, how did I forget about Goblin Slayer? That's a great anime. Although I wasn't a big fan of the movie. I thought the movie was kind of eh. But I really enjoyed that show. It's back, right? Is there a second season? I need to watch it. Out of combat stuff. Yeah, you could apply it there too. Wait, would attacking the party barbarian and sending him into rage be a free rage action for the barbarian? I don't know. It's up to the DM, I suppose. The manga is always a superior. Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, well, I think that there's an answer there. Definitely the second one. We've got 2 more questions, and then we'll try and do a little bit of chat. Oh, there is a second season. Yeah, I definitely need to watch it then. Okay, and as a reminder, everyone in here, please like the video. I see y'all in here. We need some more likes on there. Just go over and hit the thumb. It's very helpful for the algorithm. Helps us keep this thing going. Just like the video. Tell your friends if they're looking for a D&D podcast. They can find one here every Friday night. So, 10 p.m. The next question that we have is from Nora. You know what? I haven't even been using the list of names. I can't believe it. The next one is from Nora, and Nora asks, "Greetings, O wise bard. Did you see the trailer for the new Fallout show on Amazon Prime? I think it looks great, and I'm excited. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Also, have you played any of the games? Thanks for the pod and all the laughs. Take care." Thank you for the question, Nora. I did see the trailer, actually. I watched it last night. It looks like it's going to be pretty good. I will say that this kind of content has done better lately, I think, because tech as well as the internet has allowed for less powerful gatekeepers in these kind of industries. So I think that more people are able to be really involved with the production of stuff. Like, okay, so as an example, like we all remember, most people here, I imagine, if they're anime fans, remember the Dragon Ball live action movie from like, what was it, like 2009? It's not good. It's not good. And I don't know the extent of like involvement on that, but it wasn't very good. And then Netflix made a whole bunch of really bad anime adaptations for years. But then they made One Piece, which I thought was fantastic. And then the Fallout trailer, I think, looks really good. Walter Goggins, is that his name? I love that guy. I think that he's an incredible actor. He's really funny. He was in Vice Principals, and he plays Baby Billy on The Righteous Gemstones, and the best adaptations have the original creator's input. Yes. So, I don't know, honestly, enough about what's going on with the Fallout. It feels like developers are involved, right? It feels like Bethesda has a hand in it. And that's a good thing because, I mean, who are you making it for anyway? People who have played the games. I never really was a huge fan, admittedly, with the Fallout games. Like, I played a little bit of 3 and a little bit of 4 and New Vegas. And don't get me wrong, like, it's not a thing where I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum, you know? It's not a thing where I'm saying it's bad. They just never really appealed that much to me. But I can certainly see I can see why people like it. And, it does look like it could be a really cool, epic story. So I'm hopeful about it. I saw a post today that was people losing their mind because the trailer has a 767 cockpit in the trailer. Mostly just played Fallout 1 and 2. Borderlands trailer made me think of National. Now, the Borderlands trailer is a different conversation entirely. I think it's very bizarre that they chose to go with Kevin Hart. I mean, I get it, right? Like, he's got a lot of clout around his name, and he's a pull. He'll get you people in the movie, but, like, people are going to go see Borderlands anyway, I think. Worst adaptation in the movie. Have we seen has anybody seen the new Airbender stuff? The last Airbender movie? Yeah, it was pretty bad. Do you really, Catch Ass? You think that was worse than Full Metal? Can't be worse than what they did with Full Metal. Now we can look forward to Fallout themed McDonald's, yeah. Terry Crews, hell yeah, Terry Crews would have been a great choice. Yeah, because Kevin Hart's like 5'2" or something. It's like, the new Airbender is better than the movie. Okay. I think I have heard that just in general. Full Metal was better than Dragon Ball. True. That's true. Well, dude, I remember the first time I saw the trailer. I remember the first time, I'll never forget, the first time I saw the trailer for that Dragon Ball movie, and I was like, it got done and it finished, and like all of my friends and I were like, just kind of looking at each other, and I was like, Goku's a white guy? Why is Goku a white guy? That doesn't make any sense. Kenshin was a good live action. I don't know about that. I haven't seen it. Really don't think the Borderlands movie will be good. Dude, I want to see the Borderlands movie just to see Bobby Lee in it for like 2 minutes. And I saw him, there was a clip of him in the trailer. Bleach live action. The live action Attack on Titan too. Whoa, really? I don't know about that. Kevin would have made a better Airbender than a Borderlander. Yeah, probably. But yeah, I mean, I think it looks cool. I'll watch it. I've got Prime, so I'll check it out. It comes out like what? Like next month? Yes, and thank you for keeping me on track, Pirate. We've got one last question, and then we'll do a little chat. So hopefully that gives you an answer, Nora. Thanks for the question. This last question is from Harvey. And Harvey asks, hello, Yazek. Big fan of your music and lyrics. Thank you. Thanks for making nerd stuff cool. Well, I don't know about that, bro. My question has to do with a recent article I read regarding D&D, specifically Wizards and Hasbro. It appears they have plans of aggressively investing in the video game space. It said that they have around 40 games in development. What are your thoughts on how this will affect or change the community or industry? Thank you for the question, Harvey. I think it's cool. You know? As much as I'm not like a big fan of Wizards or Hasbro lately, the fact that they're going that hard in the paint, I think, means that independent studios will be too. Because, like, let's not get it twisted, right? Like, Baldur's Gate 3 is the result of Larian, not Wizards. You know, Wizards gave their little, like, legal okay for some stuff, I'm sure. But, like, Larian's responsible for that game. And I was actually browsing through some games on Steam last night. I think it's already happening. So, I was browsing through Steam and I saw some cool TTRPG, well, not TTRPGs, but like turn-based RPGs on Steam. And like I saw one of them that was like a cool Western one. Like I've always been really into visuals, so like D&D kind of always worked just because I'm kind of like a creative guy, I guess. Like I have a pretty solid imagination, I think, but I always wish that I could like see it and kind of feel it easier. And Baldur's Gate 3 has given us that. And I think that, you know, they're going to make like 40 games. That's, you know, cool. I don't know how well they'll do. I think that they might need to take a step back because it's really, really difficult to make a really good game that people love and play. Like ask Larian, they'll tell you. Or ask these Helldiver developers. Like, it's a labor of love to make a game like that. And Wizards and Hasbro are not in the business of labor of love. They're in the business of trading around numbers, right, with money. We'll give you money to make more money. And so it could be a little short-sighted of them if they go like too aggressive, because then at that point you're putting a bunch of money into like 40 games and like 2 of them are going to do well. And then now what? Now what you do with all that? They had a large... Yeah, I know I saw Wizards had a big layoff too. So it's like, that's kind of annoying in that sense because it's like, man, wouldn't it have been cooler to just like keep those people on payroll and instead make 20 games? Like how many games? Talk about oversaturation. I think it's kind of insane for them to think, but you know, this is what happened with Disney and Marvel, where they're just like, oh no, it's fine. We'll just keep doing it forever all the time and they'll never get sick of it. And it's like, I think they're getting sick of it. And so that might happen with Wizards in these games. But the good news to the silver lining to that is the same kind of silver lining there was to like the OGL stuff last year, is that because of their actions and what they're doing, other independent studios are going to take note of that. They're going to start doing their own kind of investing in creating stuff. And because a lot of times those independent studios have a better ear to the ground with the community, they'll probably be able to make more fun, more successful games that way. So I think that overall it's a good thing for the... just for the community in general, because there'll be more games. I think it might end up being not such a great thing for Wizards or Hasbro, because it's like, dude, laying off employees it would presuppose that you don't have all that much money. And so the fact that you would instead take that money invested into 40 games, you better hope that like more than a couple of them actually hit. And they probably won't. Like the idea of them making more good games movies. Yeah. But there's got to be, I mean, to what end, right? Like it's... Baldur's Gate 3 is, in my opinion, I think Baldur's Gate 3 is already great. You just improve upon it, right? You just add races and classes to it. You add higher level caps. You add different stories. I think what would be really dope is if Baldur's Gate 3 had like a sandbox feature where you could just like take, you know, you had like a room that's like 1,000 by, you know, whatever the dimensions are in the game, but you have like a blank room where you can plug in assets to the game and kind of create your own stories and or encounters and fights. That would be so cool. So, yeah, I think that we'll just kind of glide on into chat since we're kind of already here with this. So thank you for the question, Harvey. Hope that gives you an answer. And now we'll get into chat just as I'm catching up on what stuff chat is saying. It could oversaturate the market, but I don't think a lot of studios want to risk developing a game like BG3. Well, if it pays off, you know. Disney's challenging WotC with their own card game in favor of Magic the Gathering. Oh, wow, really? That'd be interesting. I think anyone would be hard-pressed to saturate the market with these kind of games simply given the amount of time, attention, and love required. These cash-hungry companies aren't that patient. Yeah, well, that's the thing. And then what happens is you get crappy games. They're like, oh, well, we're just going to, like, push this out. And then it's like, make it. And then you get, like, that King Kong game, and it's like, what the hell is this? It's, like, not even playable. And again, I think it goes back to like who's calling the shots. It's the same thing with like the anime live action productions. It's like who's in there. Like One Piece, I think was so good was because Oda was like right there along the way, and then as in the other ones, not so much. And I think the same kind of thing with games, right? Like Larian, anybody that plays BG3 would tell you, you can tell that the people that made that game love D&D. Because there's a lot of stuff in there where it's just like, oh, man, this is so D&D and only D&D. So it doesn't feel like something that some big studio made. And if Wizard starts doing that, where they're just like churning out games and it's like they're doing like a, oh man, imagine they made like some rogue game that was just like an Assassin's Creed clone. I just foresee it not going all that well. 40 games is crazy. That's going to be not good. But hopefully that inspires all these other studios. Yeah, Pirate. What if Larian, Paizo, Owlcat, and Deep Silver came together to create a studio to rival WotC and Hasbro? Would it work? Maybe. I mean, I'll tell you what. If there were a time to do it, it would be now. This would be the time to do that. If anybody from those companies is listening, this would be the time to kind of join forces and maybe knock that down, because they've already been pissing people off. People are just looking for reasons. You honestly got BG3 only because I love Divinity Original Sin. Yeah, you know, Divinity, I tried to play that. I couldn't get into it, and probably because I was by myself. Honestly, BG3 was a bit of a curve for me, just like learning how it operates mechanically. But man, it's real good. Game Company, why make games when I could just reskin COD again for $70 a pop? Yeah, dude, 2K is the most egregious of that. And I broke down and got 2K24 like last week because it was on sale for like $9. Don't judge me. And just already, like I've only played a little bit of it, and already I'm pissed because it's like, this is just, all you're doing is paying for new rosters. By the way, that's why I don't pre-order 2K anymore. I stopped doing that years ago. It's like, I'm not about to play laughs in FIFA. I'm not about to pay $80, $90, $100 or whatever it was for the Black Mamba edition or whatever for a new roster. That's insane. They don't even do that much with the UI, and they certainly don't do that much with the career mode. Man, this year, it's like nothing. It's just, you just plug in. There's like barely even any kind of interaction with your player. And I've talked before about how like I play those games like RPGs, and it's unfortunate. There is NCAA this summer. That is true. And I'm really hype about that, actually. I'm really, really excited for that because, man, that was one of my favorite games as a kid. And, you know, the college games just felt different. And plus there's like way more teams. And, oh, man, I wish that if they do that, I wish that with NCAA, and maybe they'll add this as a feature later, because I know that this was the case back in like 2008. I wish that they do it so that you could transport or transfer rather your college player into Madden. Because I know that you could do that in 08. And 08 was special too, because I think that was one of the last NCAA football games that they made until now. It was like 08, 09, I think was like the last couple. And in 08, my career on the college team started in high school. You played the last couple of high school games for scouts, and then you would get scouted into college, and then you could play all 4 of your years in college, and then you could transfer your character into Madden and get drafted and then play in Madden. I ran this guy for like 25 years or something. It was so cool. I want to be able to do that. Elden Ring DLC, you say? I didn't even know about that. I've mixed feelings about Dragonlance not being done. Mike Dicka Power Football. Your fam are going to the rodeo next week. Oh, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about good things of the week. What's going on with everybody? Going to the rodeo, that'll be fun. Be careful. Happy springtime. Oh, yeah, and we do, Rocco said that earlier, we've got we're springing back. What is it? Spring forward? Not springing back. That's a D&D move, dude. Spring forward. So dumb. We got to stop that, yeah? I mean, I'm sure that there are people laughing in Arizona and Hawaii, but like, what are we doing, gang? We got to stop this with the moving the hour. You know, it's not so bad in the fall because it's like, oh, that's kind of neat. But in the spring, it's like, I want to die. You're taking a whole hour away from me? I can't do this. I'm almost 40. Waiting for Charlie's NIL deal for being an NPC in the next BG. Be in Orlando this time next week. Oh, that'll be fun. Are you going for business or pleasure? Orlando. Love the dice. Glad to hear it. You got a 722 series, 269 high game last night in bowling. Anthony, I don't know what any of that means, but it sounds really good. So I'm proud of you. That's great. Good for you. Speaking of football, Bucks got Evans, Winfield, and Baker back. So stoked. And good things. I started a new job this week again. I appreciate it more here than my last job. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Also, Pirate, thank you very much for sharing that thing on the Discord about the dice. That was a really funny message. I enjoyed listening to that. So I don't know what we're doing in Jacksonville. I really don't even want to talk about it, to be honest, because we fired our DC. I don't know what that, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why we didn't fire Press Taylor. I don't know why we fired our DC. The defense was like one of the only good things about our team last year. So, and I guess we're just running it back. Like we got rid of Rayshon Jenkins. Got rid of, I can't think of the poor guy's name now that I think about it. But they they wished him a happy birthday, and then they released him like 2 hours later. It's just Jaguar stuff, you know. My favorite author, Brandon Sanderson, has his new leather-bound book campaign started on Wednesday, and I was able to back one of the tiers. We crashed the entire site over 30 minutes. I see that guy on TikTok. Didn't he like recently accidentally write a book? Like he took time off or something, and then like in his downtime wrote a book. Your wife might have found a job. That's good. Losing an hour, cries in 50. Best friend's boy has moved up to writing tiers this year. Girlfriend got approved for disability, so finances will be easier. That's good. Take a solo trip every year. Coming down to mini golf and Tom Segura. Good for you on the bowling score. Yeah, that is cool. Don't know why you didn't get rid of Trevor Lawrence. Don't start with, I don't know. Listen, I'm going to give him one more year. Mostly because he's already here and like we don't really have enough money or time to get somebody else at this juncture. I'm going to give him one more year. And if we don't make it to like the AFC title game, I'm done. You can get rid of him. Because like I said, I've already talked about it. I've compared his number to Blake Bortles. Seems like it might be another Blake Bortles. The word on the next dice set is this Thursday, or this coming next Thursday, the Sarah dice will be available. I don't have any visuals for them. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I'll have them next Friday. But they are... Do I have a set? Not one that's in, like... Not one that's in immediate grabbing orbit. But the Sarah set will come out next week. And the Sarah set's cool because there's a special D20 in there, which has, you know, it rolls well. It lets you roll like Sarah. In good news, a close family friend is doing well after his heart transplant. We waited till after surgery to tell me he was getting it. Whoa. Well, hey, I mean, at least it's good to hear that he's recovering well. Reconnected with a girlfriend you've been missing today was awesome. Well, sounds like everybody had a great week. Here we are at the end. I've got some stuff that I need to do, to be honest. I've got to edit because we're doing the Florida edition. And then I've got to work tomorrow as well. I had a long day today. Did a lot of stuff. But, you know, it's good to feel accomplished. All right, so before we get out of here, let's remind everybody once more of the email, which is bardadvice@gmail.com. Please send all your questions there, and, send them over, because your questions keep this thing going. Like I said, I think I said last week, this is a community effort. we together create this show. So send all your questions and stuff to bardadvice@gmail.com. It also looks like bardadvice, if that helps you remember. If you want to get merch, you can do so at manshorts.com, but more importantly, I should have the text up here for it, but crackendice.com, go over there to get yourself some dice if you don't already have the Manshorts set part due, and then next Thursday, Sarah's dice will be available. If you'd like to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, YAHZICK. We will be back here next week, same Bard time, same Bard channel, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard on the Manshorts YouTube channel. The audio for this podcast will be made available tomorrow at 12 p.m. noon Eastern. I hope that everybody has a fantastic weekend and an even better week, and we shall see you next time.